Hello everybody, welcome to the very first video lesson on Piano Practice Partner. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for joining. We are at the start of our journey together. Well, technically, I'm a week into the journey, so I'm having lessons in real life and I will be a week ahead of you. So it gives me a week to digest what I'm learning from my teacher and then feedback to you what I've learned. And I felt very vindicated in my first lesson for the concept of this channel because my teacher is really great, we're getting on very well, and I'm very excited. However, whilst explaining the concepts of what we were going through, he would then extrapolate the information or expand upon it by quickly playing stuff and going, oh, this simple chord, you can then suddenly go like this. And whilst impressive and something to aspire to, I was incredibly intimidated. My eyes glazed over, my brain went to mush, because I just don't understand how you can make the leap from a simple sort of chord to then all the other things that he was doing. Very easy for him to do because he's been practicing for years and is a professional. Very hard for me to understand how we get from point A to point B. So it feels like there's lots of other weird zigzaggy routes before we get to that point. So I won't be able to noodle and intimidate you because I'm not there yet. And by the time I am able to noodle and intimidate, you'll also be at that same point, so you won't be intimidated. Hey, it's perfect. So let's dive right in by addressing the elephant in the room, which is the keyboard. When we first sit down at the keyboard, we may feel intimidated. There's a lot going on here. Look how many notes there are. On this keyboard, there are 73 from this end to this end. Now, your keyboard may have 73 notes. It might be slightly smaller and shorter. It might have fewer notes or more notes. But the first thing we'll notice is the color of the keyboard. There are white notes here, and there are black notes here. So already, I feel a bit calmer. There are only two options, white keys or black keys. Great. Now, if we look a bit closer at the black keys in particular, we can see that there are two black keys here, followed by three black keys, followed by two black keys, followed by 3, 2, 3, 2. What does this mean? It's a repeating sequence. So instead of being overwhelmed by the fact there are 73 keys here, if we look at it closely, there's just a repeating section. So from this point up to this point, that's all we're focused on. And it repeats here, and it repeats here. And then if we're going the other way down, it repeats down here too. Look at that. Off the end of the keyboard. So instead of being overwhelmed by the 73 notes, let's count just this repeating section. So we'll start on this white note just below the two black keys. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we're back to the start of the sequence. So between this note here and this note here, there are only 12 notes. We only have to worry about 12 notes, not the entire keyboard, not the 73. There are not 73 different notes. There are only 12 different notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notes. I don't know about you, but I already feel a little bit calmer knowing that there's only 12 things to comprehend. Now, when I pressed this note here and this note here, if you notice, they're both sat in the same point, just below the two black keys, and they sound the same. So these are the same notes. So we can hear as we go up the sequence, if we try and find the next white key that relates to this one, so it's 2 below the black keys. And there's another one further up here. And then if we go down, They're all the same note. So we are going to call this C. This is our first note that we're learning, C. And because it's in the middle of our keyboard, it's referred to as, you guessed it, middle C. Nice and easy to remember. C, this is also a C. This is also a C. This is also a C. As I said, it's just a repeating set of 12 notes. If we move to the right of the keyboard, we'll notice another thing, that the pitch gets higher. So if we move further up here, we're getting higher. And if we're moving to the left of the keyboard, we're getting lower in pitch. So pitch basically refers to the highness or the lowness of the sound. So let's look a bit more closely at these 12 notes. I'm going to play through them and I'm going to label them as we go through. So C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So what do we notice from that? I'll repeat it again so we can just try and pay attention. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C. So there are two things we can notice from that. Number one, all of the white notes are letters. Number two, all of the black notes were those letters, but with sharp after them. I was saying the word sharp. So C was this note here. Remember, middle C. If I went one note up to this black note, it was C sharp. So it's still C, but it's just sharp. It's a little bit sharper. Ooh. D. Notice if I go up to the black note, D sharp. Now look what happened next. E. There's no black note between this note and this note. So E, there's no sharp. F, because it's not a black note. So these white notes were just expressed as letters, and the black notes were expressed as the note, the letter, plus a sharp. The other thing we notice is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. They're just letters of the alphabet. Now we're starting on C for ease, and we'll explain why later. But if we start from here, A. This is A. So we know the alphabet, I'm presuming. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. If you know the alphabet, if you know the English language, then you know the notes of the keyboard, because they are just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then when we get to G, we repeat to the A. So let's come back to this note here. Remember what this was called? That's right, middle C. So we're going to come back to middle C. And for now, we're going to forget about the black notes. We're going to ignore these, and we're just going to focus on the white notes. And again, we're just going to focus on this little repeating section. So we've learnt that instead of there being all these notes, there are only 12 notes, including the black notes. So now, ignoring the black notes, there are only, let's count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8 gets us back to the C, this octave. This is what we refer to as an octave, so it's 8 steps apart from each other. So this is referred to as a scale. There are 8 notes in the scale. And this we're going to call C major, because we're starting on C, and it's in a major key. And I'll explain why in a second. So to begin with, before we get into any more theory of why it is the way it is, let's start playing. So we're going to learn how to play the C major scale. Now, you'll notice that You only have 5 fingers, yet there are 8 notes. So we have to organize our hand in a way that accommodates us to play 8 notes. Because if we just play up the fingers as they are on our hand, when we get to number 5, our pinky finger, we've still got 3 notes left, but how do we get our hand around? You can't really reach over in this position. It's very clunky. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put my hand up here for ease. We're going to call this number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So we're labeling our digits from left to right, from number 1 to number 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to play 1, 2, 3, and then instead of going to the 4th finger here, when we get to number 3, we're going to cross our thumb underneath and start again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because 5 and 3 equals 8, and there are 8 notes on this scale. So let me do it on the keyboard very slowly. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, and remember, rather than carrying on, we're going to cross our thumb underneath and start the sequence again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sense? Let's try it again. So thumb, 1, 2, 3. We're going to cross the thumb underneath to the next note and start the sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Easy, right? So we're just going 1, 2, 3, cross the thumb underneath, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Amazing. Now, what happens when we go back down? Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that seems logical. We're then going to cross over the thumb again, and then with our 3rd finger, so the middle finger here, 1, 2, 3, 5 and 3. So it would go like this. Remember, this is 5 and this is 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1. And you may have already realized that it's the reverse of each other. So on the way up, we're going 3, cross, 5. On the way down, we're going 5, cross, 3. So it's just the opposite of each other. We'll do that going up once and then down once. So from middle C, ready? 1, 2, 3, cross. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at our octave C. And going back down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crossing over, 3, 2, 1. Easy. We've learned the C major scale. Playing it up and playing it down. Great. Okay, so what about the left hand? It's the same, but different, just to confuse matters. So on the way up, we're starting with our pinky, aren't we, rather than our thumb. Ugh. Now you'll probably have one dominant hand and one non-dominant hand. So with the dominant hand, we'll probably pick things up a bit quicker, and the non-dominant hand might take a bit of work. It's worth sticking with the non-dominant hand because we want to bring both hands and fingers up together. It's like going down to the gym and your dominant hand's really good at bicep curls, and so you do loads on this side, but you don't do so many on this side, and then you end up with uneven arms, like insert clip of Rick and Morty. So even though it might be frustrating to work the non-dominant hand, push through, because you don't want to leave it behind. You want to be friends here. So we're starting with our pinky finger, and it's the same sequence, right? It's just going to sound lower because here's middle C. We're going to start down at the C just below. And remember, if we go to the left of the keyboard, the pitch gets lower. So the first thing we have to notice is, unlike our right hand, where we have to switch quite quickly because we want to get the full 5 fingers up to the octave, here we've already got the 5 fingers available to us. So we're switching in reverse, if that makes sense. I'll explain it now. So we're going, and we'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're always working from the left. So even though the pinky was 5 on the right hand, it's not 5 here because we want to go in sequence. So the pinky would be on the left hand 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're crossing over the top, the middle finger. 3, 4, 5. So whereas the right hand went 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the left hand is swapping that around. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Great. So what do you think will happen on the way back down? That's right. We're going to swap the sequence around. So we're starting with our thumb. We're going 5, 4, 3, and then we're going to put our thumb underneath. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Great. So on the way up, again, we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. And the way down, 5, 4, 3, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fantastic. So now we can play the C major scale up and down on the right hand, and up and down on the left hand. Beautiful. Now comes the most challenging part of this first lesson. It's trying to put both hands together. Now, this is going to feel frustrating. A lot of these lessons will feel frustrating at some points, but that is just the nature of us learning. Think back to anything you've ever learned. Some of the information comes quite naturally and easily to you, and other bits takes a little bit of time, a little bit of understanding, but by persevering with that challenge, you make the connections, especially when it's something that's mind and body. You're trying to marry the two together. So we might understand it intellectually. We're just trying to communicate that to our fingers. So we'll start on C, our home. Pinky on the left hand, thumb on the right hand. Now immediately we'll notice we come to a little sticky point, a little tricky transition, because we've still got some fingers left on our left hand to use, but our right hand's going to switch underneath. So let's just make that happen. Thumb's now on the next note, and we're carrying on with our left. And again, we're into another transition. So we're going to have to cross over our middle finger on our left hand whilst carrying on with our right. When we get to those transition points, it's okay to pause, to just think about what happens next, and then find the note, find the finger, and then carry on. That's all we're going to do. It's not high pressure, high stakes. We're just going to take our time. So let's start with the C. And here's a transition point where we're going to have to cross underneath. So I'm just going to find that note. And once I'm ready to carry on, I'll carry on. Oh, another transition point. So I'm just going to figure out what happens next. It's the left hand crossing over this time. And once I'm ready to carry on, I'll carry on. Simple-ish, right? It's new to us, so it's going to feel a bit clunky to begin with. But the more we go over that, the more we practice, the easier those transition points will become. So let's try it one more time. Transition point, so I'm just going to figure out it's the right hand crossing. Okay, I've got that. I'm going to carry on. Little transition point, it's the left hand this time, so I'm going to just figure that out. And I'm ready. Great. Now, once that comes a bit more naturally, that gap will shorten. And it will shorten and shorten and shorten and shorten until we're able to play up that scale nice and smoothly. Now, let's have a quick look at what it sounds like moving down the scale. So we're going to start where we ended, up here. So starting with our pinky on our right and our thumb on our left. And we're going to stop at each transition point. First transition point is on our left hand this time. Oh, now another transition point on the right here. Let's try that again. Crossing over on our left. Crossing over on our right. Great. Now, All of this will be in the practice video that's coming up, where we'll practice right hand, we'll practice left hand, we'll practice them both together going up, practice them going down. But let's just look what it sounds like and feels like going up the scale and then down the scale. So here we go from C. And then back down. Fantastic. There's no pressure, there's no rush to play it that fast. You might be there already, you might not. It's absolutely fine to take it at this speed. Because then we can figure out where the transition is. Another transition. And then back down. There's a transition there, and another one coming up. Slow is not wrong. Slow helps us, it allows us more time, literally more time to figure out and process what we're about to do next. It's way better to go slow and to really think about, okay, it's here, great, I'll carry on. Oh, and I'm going here, carrying on. So take it nice and slow. It's better to walk before you can run. Because if you just try to sprint it and you get the fingers all muddled up and don't fully understand it, or your right hand gets really quick but your left hand doesn't get so quick, then you're waiting for this one to catch up with this one, we're going to get it all out of kilter. So taking it slow to understand is absolutely fine and, in fact, necessary, because then we can join the dots to try and figure out how to move forward. Great. So far we've learnt that there are only 12 notes on the keyboard that repeat. That's all we need to worry about. Not all of this. It's just 12 simple notes. We also know C major. And within C major, or any major scale, there are only 8 notes. So not even 12 to worry about. We've also learnt how to play C major with our right hand. And we've learned how to play C major with our left hand. So far, so good. So let's look at our very first chord. And we're going to be looking at, yep, you guessed it, the C major chord. So we've learned the C major scale. But what is a chord? A chord is simply multiple notes played at the same time, stacked upon each other, and they make a very pleasing and full, rich sound. So if this is just a note, and it's great, and we play melodies and stuff. However, it doesn't sound very whole. Okay, so if we add more notes to it, that's all the notes of C major played at the same time. But it's a bit clashy. It's a bit gross. Probably has very few use cases. So let's try and make it sound a bit prettier. Now, the C major chord is made up of, well, 3 notes. The C, makes sense, but also 2 others. This note and this note. And if we play them together, hey, sounds nice, doesn't it? Sounds familiar, sounds quite happy. So major chords, we can think of them very simplistically as happy sounding. Major, hey. If it were a minor chord, and I'll quickly play one now, explain why it's minor in a minute. Ooh, sadder, more ominous. Very simplistically put, but major, hey, happy. Minor, ooh, boo, sad. So this is C major, this is C minor. Let's ignore the minor for a second and just stick with the major. So it's made up of C, if you remember our notes from earlier, D, E, F, G. So C, E, and G makes up C major. Now, as well as the letter value, C, this is our root of the scale. Because we're playing C major, the root is C. Makes sense? Now, we can also express this in a numerical value. We can refer to this as the 1. This is 1. And then if we went up to the top, this C, well, how many notes are there between? 8. So this would be the 1, and this would be the 8th note. So the octave. So if someone refers to it like an 8th, it's the octave of that note. So if this is 1, what would that make D? That's right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the octave, the 8. Cool. So why would we give them both letter values and numerical values? Well, the letter values never changed. This is always a D. This is always a D. This is always a D. This is always an F. This is always an F. This is always, I just had to check that. This is always an F. That never changes. However, depending on what key you're playing in, the numbers would change in relation to the key. Don't worry, don't panic, it's all okay. We're just sticking with C, so this is 1. C is 1. However, if we were to play in F major, for example, so F, this would now be our new root, because we're in a new key, so we'd start with the root of that key, the F. So the letter value doesn't change, this is always F, but now this is our new 1. No longer the C. The C is no longer our 1 because we're not playing in C. Why is this important? Because it makes understanding chords simpler. So a major chord is always made up of 3 notes, and those notes are the 1, the 3rd, and the 5th. So in C major, let's just find out what our 1st, 3rd, and 5th notes are. So number 1, C, easy. So let's count up to 3. So it's the E, and then 4, 5, the G. So C, E, G, also known as the 1, the 3, and the 5, makes up C major. So let's now very quickly explain what a whole note is and what a half note is. So, between here and here, between the C and the D, they are separated by this black note. Because if we're going up in sequence, there's one note standing between them. So this is known as a whole note. So there's one note between them. So if we were to go straight from C to this black note here, that is a half step or a half note. So if there's nothing between them, it's a half note. And if there is a note between the 2 notes, it's a whole note, a whole step. This is important to know because the major sequence, let's have a look. If we're playing the C major, what do we notice? We notice that between here and here, we've got a whole, it's a whole note, right? Between here and here, also a whole note. What about here? There's no black note separating these two, so it's a half step. Another black note gets between them, so it's a whole step. Another whole step. Another whole step. And then here, half step. This is important to know because all major keys, all major scales follow this exact pattern. So we're learning about pattern recognition and things repeat. We're going whole note, half note, whole note, whole note, whole note, half. I'll repeat that again. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So if we just play that through, There's a little half there. Whole, whole, half. So let's try and apply that to F major. So we know it's going to be whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Here's our F. So let's find the whole. Whole, whole, half. Next one is a whole note, and so it would skip there to the next whole. Another whole, whole, and then half. Whole, 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 half, whole, 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 half. Easy, right? But we're getting ahead of ourselves. It's just really useful, I think, to understand why the rules are there, because we can then apply them to other chords, other keys, and expand our learning. So now we've learned C major. We've learned that a major chord comprises of the 1, the 3, and the 5. So within the C major scale, the 1, the 3, and the 5. C major. We've also learnt that the major scale comprises of whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So if we were to apply that to F major, it would be because that is the whole note, the whole note, the half note, the whole note, the whole note, the whole note, the half. So we've now learned F major. Very quickly, it wasn't my intention, but we've done it. So if we were to play an F major chord, we know that the major chord is the 1, the 3, and the 5. So where's our new 1 in F major? It's the F. And then it's the 3. So where is that? 1, 2, 3, the third note up in the scale. And then the 5, remember that's our fourth note here, because it went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's F major. So now we can practice going from C major to F major. Just using these 3 fingers. Keep our hand position pretty much the same. And this is why I think I had a problem with other courses when they're like, just keep your hand like this. Totally doable, totally doable. You can just easily just move up and down. But failing to understand why we're doing that, I think is a problem, because then you can't expand and learn. At least now we know how a C major chord, or how a major chord is comprised of musically, what notes it's comprised of musically. The 1, the 3, and the 5. And we know how to find the 1, the 3, and the 5. We now know how to just find any other scale, and we will build up this slowly. I'm sorry, I'm getting very excited. This is the first lesson. I'm excited to share this news and knowledge with you. I promise I will calm down and contain myself in future lessons as I become more professional. So let's just have a quick little go at then adding a root note in the left hand. So we've learnt the C major chord. So let's find C with our left hand, and let's play that C bass note at the same time as playing the C major chord. Beautiful, it gives it a bit more depth, right? And what happens if we take it down here to the lower C? Oh, even bassier. Maybe we could try playing the C in the octaves in the left hand. So it'd be spreading our hand apart and... Ooh, beautiful. If that's too much of a stretch, don't worry. We can just use a finger to play. Great. So let's try playing the F major chord with the F in the bass as well. So let's find F right here. Let's find our little 1, 3, 5. Great, F. Maybe we can try and find that octave down. Give it a bit more bass. Maybe we can try putting them together if we can. And then let's switch back to the C. Back to the F. Great, we've got 2 chords down. This is amazing. Okay, let's stop lesson 1 there because I have no idea how long this will be when I put it together in the edit. I kind of just freewheeled this one, just winged this one to see how it would turn out. So please let me know in the comments if it was useful, if it was clear, what could be clearer, if you have any suggestions for ways you would like to work and learn. Would you like some, I'm planning to get a little whiteboard so I can write down notes. You can also see the notes on a stave if that's useful. Yeah, I've just been excited to dive in, and I've done it with little thought or planning, as may be apparent, but I hope it's been really useful. I'm excited to figure out how this works with you. I'm really excited to learn. I'm really excited to be sharing this journey with you, and I hope you've got some benefit from it. So I'm going to do a practice session now. I've got this, if you've been wondering what this is a little timer. So I'm going to now film a little practice session, and then you can follow along with what we've been learning in today's lesson. Thank you so much, everybody. Happy learning. Welcome to the channel. It's going to be a wild ride, but I'm super stoked you're here. Let's go.